fails. Start the camera and then walk away. Okay, yeah. So anyway, okay, good morning. It's currently about 9 o'clock, June 26, 2017. I've been up for about an hour. I woke up a little bit before 8 o'clock this morning. It's cooler again today. It's windy. And there's some clouds, but it's kind of breaking, so I'm not sure if I'm going to get a storm or not today. I thought I was going to get rained on yesterday, and it didn't happen, so I'm okay with that. I was up until about midnight last night, a little after. Had the generator running the whole time, was editing video. I've got some clips that I can upload. A little bit of random stuff, kind of day-to-day life here on the ranch, so that'll kind of give people a feeling for what it's like to be out here. I edited week 3 for June, so that's basically this week that's just ended, and then I'm going back to week 1 of June, which begins with the storm, where I had the flooding. So that'll be interesting footage, and I saw the truck stuck in the road and getting it out and everything like that. You can see in the background I got a mosquito net over my bed. I just hung it up this morning. I think that'll help keep the bugs out of my face. I also think there's a really good chance I'm going to get tangled up and tear the thing down, but we'll give it a shot. It is very light feeling, so I think if it is laying on me, it won't bother me so much. I don't have a mosquito problem out here, but I do have a lot of flies and other flying bugs, and they tend to get in my face and become really annoying. So I'm thinking if I can learn to live with the net, that might help. Just keep the bugs out of my face, because you're like trying to sleep in, and then they're just buzzing around and trying to go up your nose. So that gets to be a problem. Plan for today, I'm going to go out and get some rocks. Yesterday's experiment, I made a rock sifter. Spent a lot of time and energy and mental time with it. The rock sifter, I think, was a good experiment that just ultimately didn't work out. What I ended up with was, I took a couple 2x2s, and then between them ran pieces of 1/2-inch conduit. The problem was I spaced it too much. I might go back and tweak it a little bit just to see if the idea would work, but as it was, it didn't do what I wanted to do. What I was hoping to do is catch fairly small rock and let the sand and dirt fall through, because I've got all over the property, I've got a mix of everything from fine sand and little gravel up to golf ball size, baseball size, and bigger than basketball size rock, just all over. And so what I would like to be able to do is walk along with the shovel and the wheelbarrow, scoop up gravel and rock as I see it, sift it on the spot, catch the good rock, put it in the wheelbarrow, bring it up to where I'm going to build. And there's different areas that have different size rock, and so it's, it would be a fairly simple thing for me to just go 100 yards that way and come back with a bunch of rock that's, say golf ball size. If I want to dig, if I go down 3 feet or less, I'll hit bedrock, and then there's really big rock there. And some of those are working their way to the surface. One of the biggest rocks I found, it started off, I saw it, it was about, maybe, it looked like maybe softball size. And by the time I dug it out, it was, twice as big as my head kind of thing. It's huge, but, with the lens distortion, it's hard to tell how big that was. I'm going to say it was between 12 and 18 inches, and it was kind of oblong. So it was a pretty good sized rock. Now, I don't need very many of those, but when I find them, I'm kind of putting them aside because, for my rock garden and decorations, and maybe if I build a big gate or something like that, it would be a nice pillar. So, anyway, yeah, yesterday I spent a lot of time. I made this rock sifter that was a couple feet by a couple feet, which was a good size because I'm just shoveling into a wheelbarrow, so I didn't need a big tractor size one. But it it didn't work the way I wanted it to, so I wasted a lot of time on it. But the experience was good because from building it, I learned a couple things. Um, Next, what I want to do is pick a few rocks that I really want to save and then just measure them. And I was just, a lot of what I was doing is arbitrary. I just was making it up as I go, but I didn't really stop to analyze soon enough. On my truck, the running boards have an expanded metal mesh as the stepping surface. And after looking at that, I'm like, okay, I can get my thumb through the mesh, and what I really want is mesh I can just get my pinky finger through. That'll catch the smaller rocks that I really want, because if I took a shovel full of nice looking gravel, almost all of it falls through that mesh. And that was the problem with what I made, is it just, the hole spacing was just way too big. So also I learned that I don't think putting pipes together is going to work very well for what I want to do, because of the shape of the roundness of the pipe, you know, whether like this, a rock can get wedged in between fairly easily, and then you got to stop and dig it out. I think a mesh will work a lot better. We'll see. But what I'm hoping to do is edit videos on the laptop, especially the day-to-day stuff. And I can do that on battery, so I don't have to have the generator running for 4 hours while I'm editing. That's, you know, it's noisy, it's burning fuel. I'm taking hours off the generator, so eventually it's going to wear out. So ideally, you know, when I have solar power, the laptop will be just charging during the day, and then when I have time, you know, first thing in the morning, like now, would be great. Turn on the laptop and edit for an hour. You know, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful distraction. In a school bus, you've got windows on full, you know, all the way around except for where I've blocked them. But I started off with full 360 view, and I'll be looking out the window, and just suddenly, you know, or randomly, yeah, there goes a bird again. So a bird landed right outside, and then it just took off. Or I'll see a jackrabbit going by. Or like a couple days ago, I'll have military aircraft flying by at low level. My property is right in a military low-level flight training area, which to me is just awesome, because I used to work on military aircraft, and so I just love seeing them. I'm sure a lot of people hate that, but you know, to me this is like a bonus. So a couple days ago, actually in the same day, I had a B-1 bomber fly over me, which I didn't get a good shot of him that time, but and the first thing in the morning, I had 4 C-130s fly. I think they were following the county road, and so that's about 1,000 feet from me. And by looking at them, I'm going to say they were less than 200 feet. They were really low. And so they were kind of playing follow the leader, and they're just cruising down the road, you know. And, you know, you look out and you see the, I mean, I'm sitting here at my computer desk where I've got the windows right across the front of me, looking out towards the hill, and I see a C-130 fly right across, you know, from my point of view, it looked like it was right at window level, just, you know. I'm like, whoa, grab the camera, run outside. You know, it was just like, okay, that's pretty cool, you know. And then by the time I got through the back door, standing on my step outside, because I didn't even have my slippers on, I was just barefoot, so I don't want to run outside because there's thorns. But I come running outside, get on the step as it's going past, and then out of the corner of my eye, I see the next one come by. I'm like, whoa. So I kind of spun around and followed it, and then I was listening, and I could hear the third one, so I got a better shot at the last two. But, you know, it's just like, so I got hawks and vultures and jackrabbits and lizards and birds, you know, and military airplanes. I have seen my first tarantula a couple nights ago. It was in the dark. Went outside to pee or something like that. And I had the flashlight so I don't step on something I don't want to step on. And I looked over, and here he is, this big old black fuzzy tarantula walking past, you know. Down by the gate, I saw my first scorpion a couple nights ago. Again, in the dark, I was getting out of the truck. I think it was the truck. Yeah, probably. Walked over to the gate to undo it to come in, and I see something moving. I look down, and it was like, yeah, a little tiny scorpion. So, all right. I assumed they had to be out here. I just hadn't seen one yet. Saw a great big brown garter type snake. There's some that eat mice or rodents or whatever, so I let it go. But it was 5 feet from the door when I first saw it, and it was kind of sunning itself, so it wasn't moving very fast. So I saw it, ran back inside, grabbed the camera because I wasn't sure what it was. I mean, I knew it was a snake, but I didn't know what kind it was. I thought, let me get a picture of it. So I think that's on the camera somewhere. That was before the storm. So I got some video of it, enough to see the markings, and then I looked it up on the internet and was able to be pretty sure it was non-poisonous. So as soon as it saw me, it took off. Actually, it went under the bus, and then eventually, I'm sure it left. Figure I'll get some work done, and then I'll go into town, because it's about 15 miles from where I am to the little town. Cell phone coverage starts at about 10 miles from here, and that's down a gravel road, but they've worked on the road, so it's finally drivable again. Before, it was so rough that you had to slow down to like 10 miles an hour. It was about a good average speed down that whole road, so it might take you half an hour to an hour just to, well, no. I could get to cell phone coverage within 20 minutes probably, so what's that work out to? 20 miles an hour probably average, something like that. I don't know, I'm not going to do math, it's my day off, but you know, by the time you go in, get the cell phone set up, if I have a laptop with me, then I have to get the cell phone and the laptop to talk to each other. Do what you got to do, download the file or check your internet and check your email, or, you know, call somebody or whatever. Not time well spent anyway, so seems like, you know, a lot of wasted time there. So if I remind myself, I might actually remember to look at the reminders. That's always a good one, yeah. I set all these reminders on my phone, and then I go do something and I forget to look at the phone, and then 2 days later I'll look at it and I'm like, oh yeah, I was supposed to do that. Yeah, over 20 years of wasting time on the internet. I wonder what I could have got done if I didn't have the internet. Then again, you know, it's like, you know, you think, oh, the internet is this great tool, and I wonder what I could have got done if I didn't sit in front of the computer for 4 hours every morning screwing around. But as far as, you know, my day-to-day life, I'm so used to grab your cup of coffee, you know, I got my oatmeal, sit down, drink coffee, eat my breakfast, first hour or so, just checking email, you know, getting on social media. I've cut back on that enormously because I just don't have internet out here. So then my kind of day is confused. But part of that is if I had something I needed to do, I would remind myself by sending myself an email. And I would just see that when I was reading the other email. I'm like, oh, okay, so I'd look at that and then make my to-do list from there. But since I always would have my phone with me, anytime I remember to do something, just pull it out, boop, 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 remember to do this, send. Then when I'm in front of the computer, it's right there. And now without the internet, because I have to go 10 miles to get the internet, I don't get that first thing in the morning. Now the phone, at least with Gmail, if it's on the phone, even though I don't have internet, it's still on the phone. And so I just don't get anything new until I go connect. But I do see what was on the phone at least. So that helps a lot. I can't wait until I have proper batteries and good solar power, because things like last night editing, knowing that I had enough fuel to run for a few hours, I got a lot of work done that I could just sit down and do it and not really think about it. The only thing that I had trouble with is, in the back of my mind, I know that I'm on the generator. I can kind of hear it, but I had the back door closed and I had my headphones on, so I could hear what was going on the video. If I'm running on battery, like if I'm on the laptop, I see the little battery gauge. If I'm running on the batteries here, I can reach up, hit a switch, turn on a voltmeter, and it shows me that I've got 12 point. Like right now, it's 12.8 volts because I ran the battery or the generator so long yesterday. It really charged it up good. If I'm running the big computer off of the generator, I know I've got 120 volts of AC power when it's running, but I don't know how much gas I've got left. I have to walk out there and look. There's a little kind of a float gauge. That's not very accurate, but it shows me if I'm full or if I'm empty and somewhere in between. And I know I can run for, probably more than 8 hours on a single tank. I forget, I've added it up, but I don't always keep track of exactly how long I ran it is the problem. So, I can look at it, I'm like, yeah, I'm good for at least 2 hours, so I'll go in and work, and then about the next time I need to pee, I'll take my flashlight and go back, because it was dark. And what I've been doing lately, I've got this survival mirror that, is used if you're, out in the middle. I started saying that, didn't even think about it. If you're out in the desert and you want to signal an aircraft, this is what you're supposed to use. So it's military survival mirror, and it used to have a piece of string on it for something. But the idea is even if you can't see an airplane, the reflection off of this, an airplane could see you 15 or 20 miles away. So if anybody was actually looking for you, you take this and you get the sun and you figure out, the trick is, hold one hand out in front of you, use the mirror, move it back and forth until you see the sun hitting your hand, so you have kind of an idea where it's going, and then you just sweep the horizon as much as you can, because you can't get the sun to go behind you, but the idea is you can sweep most of the horizon, and you do that, you could do that continuously. It would probably not be a bad idea until you actually see somebody, or until they see you, I guess. When I was in the Navy, I bought it. It was never issued to me. I bought most of my own stuff because I wasn't in a position where I would probably need that kind of stuff. According to the Navy, I just bought it for my own amusement, probably. So I had it. I don't know if that's the same one or not, but I've had one, since the 1980s. And I probably, if I didn't have it, I would have bought another one for the Alaska trip, just, in case. It gets used almost daily for other things, like I walk out because where the generator is under the cover, I can't really see the fuel gauge, because I'd rather keep it out of the rain if it does rain. So take the mirror and a flashlight, and then you can see the gas gauge. Or under the desk when I'm working on a computer, if I need to plug in a USB cable, you can't see them, they're in the back. So I'll always take a flashlight and a mirror, and then I can see it and, plug it in. As a former mechanic, everything we did was with a mirror. You'd, use a mirror almost daily because there was always one thing on the back that you couldn't see it, and, most of it you just did by feeling, but sometimes you just had to see what was going on because, if you had a bolt, you couldn't get it to start. Why can't you get it to start? Is something out of alignment? You don't know which way to push it because you can't feel it. So shine the light down there, have your mirror look at it. Oh, there's the thing in the way. Also, when I'm shaving my head, that's how I know if I missed a spot in the back. You know, in the bus, it's kind of cool because I've got all these big mirrors. You know, I got the big driver's mirror that you can see all the kids back here. Plus, I got mirrors outside, and I use those when I'm shaving all the time. You know, I'll just stand out there, you know, stand outside and let the whiskers fly, and just, you know, shave, which I need to do today or tomorrow. But, you know, if I'm giving myself a haircut, which, you know, if you can save 20 bucks every time, you know, I'm a tightwad, so I might as well. But yeah, you just you know, grab the little mirror, look behind your head, and you can see what's going on. So it works out pretty good. So if I ever needed it for survival purposes, I don't know if I could find it because it's always on my desk, or it's, you know, I've kept it near my toolbox quite often, you know, that kind of thing.